or marker lights, the amber, low beam and high beam headlights. Lenses aren't cracked or broken. I'm going to look underneath the truck. There's no drips or puddles, nothing's leaking. My truck is not leaning left or right. That could be a flat tire or a suspension problem. I'm going to go into the boot.
That's one of the parts that I actually try to do.
Alright, I'm going to check all the fluids. Got my coolant reservoir. It's not cracked. It's not leaking. Cap's on tight. The fluid level is up to spec between add and full. And I'll check all my hoses. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, nothing's leaking. I'm going to check my oil. I would pull it out, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it out, make sure it's between add and full. You don't have to do that on your test, you just tell them. Okay. I'm going to check my brake fluid reservoir. It's not cracked, it's not leaking, cap's on tight, fluid level's up to spec between add and full. I'm going to check all the lines. They're metal, no cracks, no leaks, they're not crimped. Rubber lines, there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, no leaks. And while I'm here, I'll check the master cylinder. It's securely mounted to the firewall. There's no cracks in it, no brakes, not missing any bolts. It's not leaking as well. And I'll check my power steering reservoir. It's not cracked, it's not leaking, cap's on tight. If I pulled the cap, it's got a dipstick, be between add and full. And I'll check the power steering hoses. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, no leaks. I'm going to check my engine components. I have my alternator. Securely mounted with nuts and bolts. There's no cracks or breaks in it. My wiring is not cut or frayed. There's no bare wires. It is belt driven. The belt's not torn, it's not cut. No more than 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of flow. I'll check the water pump. It's not cracked, it's not leaking any coolant, not missing any bolts. Also belt driven on the same belt. And I'll check my power steering pump. It's securely mounted to the engine, no cracks, not leaking any fluid, belt driven on the same belt. Alright, I'm going to check the rest of my steering components. We have the steering shaft. It's not twisted, it's not cracked or bent. All the U-joints are greased properly, free of debris. Down here attached to the frame rail is my power steering gearbox. It's not missing any nuts or bolts. There's no cracks, no breaks, no leaks. Alright, I'm going to come out here under the fender well. I'm going to check my steering linkage. No cracks, it's not twisted or bent. I'll check all the bolts, make sure all the bolts are tight. I'm going to check my suspension. Up here, all there is a shock absorber. There's no dents, no cracks. It's not leaking any hydraulic fluid. I'll check the mounts top and bottom, make sure the bolts are tight, none of the bushings are dry rotted. And then I'll go to my brakes. I have my brake line. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, no leaks. I'll check the rotor. There's no cracks in it, no grooves, no discoloration from overheating. And I'll check my brake pads. There's no oil or grease on them. They're not dangerously thin, at least 1/4 inch of material left. I'll check my rim. No cracks, no illegal welds or illegal repairs. Tires beaded to the rim correctly. Got my 8 lug nuts, none are missing. There's no rust trails coming off the lug nuts that might indicate they're loose. If we could actually see them, there'd be no shiny threads on the studs that might indicate they're cross-threaded. And behind the cover is our hub seal. There's no cracks, it's not leaking any oil. If it was, we'd see oil running down the rim. I'll check my tire. I'm going to check it with an air gauge, make sure it's up to the manufacturer's specifications or your company specs. Check my sidewalls. No abrasions, bulges, cuts or gouges. Tread depth has to be at least 4/32 on the steer axle. No recaps on the front. That's it for Form A. Next is Form B. I'm going to start with my mirror. Securely mounted to the truck. There's no cracks, nothing's broken. I'm going to check the mirror. It's not cracked or broken, no stickers or anything that would block my vision. We have a turn signal 4-way flasher. It's the proper color amber. Lens isn't cracked or broken. I'll check my door. I don't see any obvious damage. Handle works, it opens and closes. I'm going to check the hinges. They're not cracked or broken or missing any bolts. My weather stripping is not torn or dry rotted. My window's not cracked or broken. It'll go up and down when the key's on. I'm going to check my step. It's securely mounted to the truck frame. There's no missing bolts. I see no cracks. There's no debris or anything on the step that's going to trip me. The second door is the same as the first. I'm going to check my fuel tank. We'll start with the cap. Cap's on tight. It's got a safety chain that keeps us from losing it, and it's got a rubber seal. And I'll look underneath at the fuel tank itself. Securely mounted to the truck frame. It's got a cover on it so we can't really see it, but there's no cracks, no big dents. I'll look underneath and make sure it's not dripping any fuel. I'm also going to check my truck frame. It's not warped or cracked. Nobody's been drilling holes in it or welding on it. And then we'll go with our drive axle. I'm going to start with suspension. We have spring mounts front and back. Securely mounted to the truck frame. No missing bolts. They're not cracked or twisted. Nobody's been welding on them. My leaf springs are not scissored or misaligned. No cracks or breaks in any of the leaves. I'm not missing any leaves. They're held to the axle with the U-bolts. Nuts are tied on the bottom. U-bolts are not shifted or broken. And we have a shock absorber. No dents, no cracks, not leaking any hydraulic fluid. I would check the mounts top and bottom, make sure the bolts are tight, bushings aren't dry rotted. Alright, brakes. Check my brake line. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, no leaks. I'll check my brake rotor. No cracks, no grooves, no discoloration from overheating. And my brake pads, no oil or grease on them, not too thin, at least a 1/4 inch material. I'll check my rim, no cracks, no illegal welds, tires beaded to the rim correctly. 8 lug nuts, none are missing. No rust trails coming off of them that might indicate they're loose. No shiny threads that would indicate they're cross-threaded. My hub seal, it's not cracked, not leaking any oil. If it was, we'd see it running down the rim. And I'll check my tire, check it with an air gauge, make sure it's up to the manufacturer's specs or your company specs. Check my sidewalls, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or gouges. Tread depth on the drive axle has to be at least 2/32. Alright, back of the trunk. I'm going to check my tailgate, make sure it's securely latched, handle works, opens and closes, everything works like it should. Alright, lights. We have a brake light on the back of the cab, proper color red, and there's a work light that's proper color clear. Lenses are not cracked or broken. And then we have our left and right brake light, tail light, turn signal, 4-way flashers with built-in backup lights that are clear. The rest of it's red. Lenses are not cracked or broken. And then we'll go to the other side for a couple unique items. Alright, we can see our drive shaft from here. It's not twisted or cracked or bent. It's held together with U-joints. There's no debris in the U-joints. They're greased properly, not missing any nuts or bolts. And we can see our exhaust on this side. It's securely mounted to the truck frame. There's no cracks, no holes. I don't want to see any black soot trails. That would indicate an exhaust leak. That's it for Form B. Alright, Form C is the trailer. I'm going to start here at the header board. Everything in front of that will be part of the cover. We've got our header board. No busted welds, nothing's cracked or broken. That'll stop the load. The brake's free on the trailer from falling off the front. Got my landing gear. Make sure it's raised up all the way so we can drive it. I'm going to check the leg, make sure there's no busted welds. Pins in place that holds it up. I'll check my crank handle, make sure it's stowed away properly so it's not swinging around while we're driving. We have a marker light, proper color amber. Lens is not cracked or broken. On the side, we have 3 marker lights. Amber at the front, amber in the middle, red at the back. Lenses are not cracked or broken. DOT tape, white to the front, red to the back. It's not peeling or faded. Should cover at least 50% of the side of the trailer. I'll look underneath at the trailer frame and all the cross members, just like the truck. Not warped, not cracked. Nobody's been drilling holes in it, welding on it, anything like that. And then we'll do our trailer axle. We're just going to do one axle. You don't have to do both. Okay. I'm going to start with suspension. We have springs. Check my spring mounts, front and back. Securely welded to the frame. No busted welds. It's not cracked or twisted. Leaf springs are not scissored or misaligned. No cracks or breaks on the leads. Not missing any leads. They're held to the axle with the U-bolts. Nuts are tied on the bottom. They're not shifted or broken. Okay, brakes. We have electric drum brakes. So I'm going to check the electric line running to it. It's not frayed, not cut, no bare wires. I'll check the brake drum. No dents, cracks, holes, no bluing color from overheating. And I'll check the linings. No oil or grease on the linings. Not too thin, at least a 1/4 inch material. I'm going to check my rims. There's no cracks, no illegal welds, no illegal repairs. Tires beaded to the rim correctly. Check my lug nuts, none are missing. No rust trails that would indicate they're loose. No shiny threads that would indicate they're cross-threaded. And I'm going to check my hub seal. It's on tight. There's no cracks. It's not leaking. If it was leaking, we'd see oil in the rim. And then I'll check my tires with an air gauge. Make sure they're up to the manufacturer specs or your company specs. Check the sidewalls. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, or gouges. Tread depth has to be at least 2/30 seconds. We have duals, so I'm going to check my tires to make sure they're the same size. We don't want to mismatch. I'll look between the tires. There's no debris, rocks, trash, nothing that can get thrown out while we're driving. I'm going to check my rims, make sure they're butted together tight, there's space between them. And I'm going to make sure my tires are not rubbing together. That can cause a blowout. Alright, we have this strap here to hold the ramps down. Make sure it's not cut, not frayed, it's tight. And then we'll go to the back. Okay, back of the truck, we got DOT tape, proper color, red and white. It's not peeling or faded. Covers 100% of the back of the trailer. We have our left and right brake lights, tail lights, turn signals, four-way flashers, and our marker lights. They're all the proper color red. Lenses are not cracked or broken. That's it for Form C. All right, next we'll go to the cover. I'm going to drop the cover so it's healing. Okay, I'm going to start out here under the fender well where the hitch mounts to the truck frame. I'm going to check my mounting bolts. They're not loose, they're not missing. We have a release handle for the ball. It's in the locked, secure position. Okay, we're going to look at the hole. Make sure I don't see any cracks. Securely mounted to the truck. I'm going to check my release handle. It's in the locked position. It's not cracked or broken. I'm going to check front of the trailer. There's a mounting bolt. Make sure it's tight and make sure my pin is in place. I'm going to check my safety chains. They're securely mounted to the trailer, securely clipped to the truck. None of the links are cracked or broken. There's no busted welds. I'm going to check the breakaway for the brake line. Securely mounted to the trailer, securely clipped to the truck. The wire's not frayed or cut. I'm going to check my electrical line. It's not cut or frayed. No bare wires. No tape repairs. It's securely mounted to the truck. It's got a locking cap in place to hold it in. There's no bent pins or debris inside the plug. I'm going to check the tongue of the trailer. There's no broken welds. There's no cracks. It's not twisted or bent out of shape. A little bend here, but not enough to affect anything. And I'm going to check the storage area on the front of the trailer. Ours doesn't have a lid or anything. We did make sure it was latched shut, but there's no debris inside. Nothing's going to fly out while we're driving. That's it for the cover. Okay, you would also do a light check. They'll help you with the light check if you ask them. Check your low beams, high beams, turn signals, four ways, brake lights. They'll give you a thumbs up if they're working.
Okay.
Don't forget that.
Just like DOT inspection.
I'm going to shut the hood and we'll go through the
Take the fry.
Do you ever get back there and go, pump James or anything like that? Finally warm.
Okay, in-cab inspection. I'm going to start with safety items. My seat belt, it's not cut, it's not frayed, it latches and it unlatches. Horn works. I've got a fire extinguisher. It's fully charged in the green. Safety pin in place. I have 3 reflective triangles and I have extra fuses for the truck. Okay, I'm going to do a safe start. Parking brake is set. I'm going to turn my key to the on position. The ABS light should come on and go back off. That means it's working properly. Alright, I'm going to check all the lights on the dashboard. Left turn signal works. Right turn signal works. Four-way flashers work. High beam indicator works. I'm going to check all my gauges. Battery's charging properly, between 12 and 15. Water temperature, it's kind of cold. That's going to continue to build up as the truck warms up. Shouldn't go over 210. We have a quarter tank of fuel, plenty of fuel for the day, but we'll need to get some soon. Oil pressure's running about 30 pounds, that's a proper level. My tachometer works properly. Speedometer we'll check when we're moving.
Okay.
Alright, I'm going to check my windshield. No cracks, no chips, there's no illegal stickers that would block my view. I'm going to look at the sill just to make sure it's not leaking into the cab. I'm going to look in all my mirrors, make sure they're all adjusted properly for me so I can see. I'll check my wipers. The arms are not bent or broken, the blades aren't torn or dry rotted, they work, and the fluid sprays. I'm going to check my heater and my defroster. This is both at the same time. Defroster works, heater works. Alright, I'm going to do a hydraulic brake test. I'm going to pump the brakes 3 times and then hold it down, count 5 seconds, and make sure it doesn't lose any pressure. 1, 2, 3, hold it down, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Didn't lose any pressure. If you do, that could indicate a leak. If you forget to do that part, that brake test, it's an automatic fail. Don't forget that one.
Okay.
Alright, I'm going to do a tug test against each brake. My parking brake is set. I'm going to drop it and drive, and just real gently pull against the parking brake. It works.
Okay.
Alright, I'm going to pull against the trailer brake. I'm going to manually hit the trailer brake. And it works. Alright, I'm going to do a surface brake check. I'm going to pull forward just a couple miles an hour, hands off the wheel, and then I'm going to hit the brake, make sure my truck does not pull left or right. If it does, it may have a brake issue. And that is it. That's complete pre-trip.